Hey there, hairdresser bestie, and welcome back to the Energized Hairdresser. Have you ever had one of those weeks where you just feel off? Like your energy is low, your calendar is busy. And I'm not even talking about like your salon calendar. Maybe your salon calendar is like fine, but like your life calendar is busy. It's the end of March and I we're transitioning from like winter sports season to spring sports season. So last week we had a little bit of a reprieve as far as practices, but then like this week, um, as you can tell, my voice is lovely. Got a little cold going on. It's like the weirdest cold where I don't feel awful, but I just don't feel good. And then um I also feel just kind of meh, meh. So maybe your personal calendar is like a little busy. Maybe you got some stuff going on. This week, weather-wise, we had snow in Indiana on Monday, freezing cold temperatures on Tuesday, and today it will be 75 degrees. So like the weather even has a little bit of whiplash going on. This episode is going to be a little bit more personal that I hope everything I share, I'm like kind of an open book. However, when like you're talking about a specific niche and energy and whatever, which is like energy, nervous system, you want to stay on that point. But this is a little bit of a different topic of energy. And this is something that I've struggled with literally my whole life, or as long as I can remember, where I would have a few really good weeks and a few not so good weeks. So I want to kind of talk about what to do with low energy and how to navigate that because I know I cannot be the only one that's ever experienced this. And I also know as a hairdresser who's building like a coaching practice, like this is something that I have had to navigate through, and I'm by no means an expert, but I have kind of developed a few tools to kind of ride the wave, right? So I think a lot of hairdressers too kind of identify with the concept of being like an empath, which is like you feel other emotions. But we're also kind of in tune because we're around so many people's emotions all the time. I would kind of overshare when I felt this way. One time I had a job in a salon and it's in a more upscale area of Indianapolis. And I was clearly having a low energy week and I was actually connecting with a client. And this salon, this was like pre-social media, like blogging had just kind of came out. I think it was like in 2011. And that owner had a very strict policy of what you could communicate with and what you couldn't communicate with your clients. One time we were just conversing about life and she came up to me with a Post-it note, celebrity hair and stop talking about your personal stuff. And ever since that point, I felt a lot of shame when it came to talking about and this could just be emotions, mental health, and just life. Okay. So when we're talking about what's going on, and this could contribute to maybe you have a lot of outside clutter in your life. Maybe this is a low energy week. Like I'm very much a type B mom where I have the best of intentions, but if you walked into my house right now, I would know where everything is. But my husband's probably like, what are we gonna, well, let's have a house tidy day. Like I would hire someone to clean my house in a heartbeat. Hence why I'm working this side gig here, this gig. Anyway, so I so maybe you have like a lot of external clutter because you're feeling low energy. Maybe you have a lot of extra things that's taking you away from your home. Maybe you have appointments. Maybe it's like one of those weird weeks where you're like, why did I schedule all my appointments this week? Right. So you don't have a lot of time being at home, or you go visit, or you're preparing for vacation. Some people might be getting ready to go on spring break or they're coming home from spring break. So how do you balance this all? So I want to help you understand that you might be feeling off in your body, in your mind, in your goals but know that you can actually kind of bring it back in. So, kind of more a little bit about what's going on with me this past week. Last Sunday, well, if anyone noticed, I did not release a podcast episode on Monday, and I kind of felt bad about it, but then I got over it. I am showing up on Instagram. I'm showing up on this podcast because I would say in 2019, I had an epiphany to where I wanted to help hairdressers with their health and wellness. And I finally got to the point where I have figured out how to do like what I'm talking about. And okay, so like Sunday, I hosted the Blood Sugar Blueprint, which was so fun, taxing. I had to show up in a way that I don't really know what I'm doing. I want to like make that clear. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out as I go and I'm doing this messy, which I think is great because I'm a perfectionist, and perfectionism is kind of the thief of joy, but also perfectionism can keep you stuck. And so we're working through it, and things are going good. So because I did the blueprint on Sunday, that had a lot of my attention. I was very anxious, and I also had a couple things going on, like right now where I attend church. We're like in the middle of Lent, and that kind of brings its own exciting challenges. And then this coming Sunday, we're having an ordination to where my children's godfather is being ordained as a deacon. Some of you may or may not know nor care, but like I am an Orthodox Christian. So like Lent is kind of a very focused time in the Orthodox Church, and it's just to be set apart, but yet I'm also growing this online business. Anyway, so I have a little bit of a spiritual kind of thing kind of going on back and forth. And I just didn't get my week set up like I wanted it to. So then I have a cold, right? And so when you're feeling like this, I want you to know that a lot of us like, and I'm mainly talking to women. So if you're a hairdresser or you're a barber and you're a man, I don't mean to exclude you, but I am not a man. And I'm talking to a lot of women here. So also too, like add in on top of all of that, and we have things that women have to deal with every month. So it is completely normal to have higher energy weeks and lower energy weeks. That is the physiology of being female. And I want you to know that I do practice a concept called life is 50-50. So in some of the trainings that I've went through, like I've also went through like certified like life coach training, and life is 50-50. You are going to have good weeks and you're going to have bad weeks. We cannot have good without bad. We cannot have light without darkness. You cannot have joy without sadness. You're going to have weeks that you just don't feel good. And that's okay. It's okay to feel good, and it's okay to not feel good. It's what you do in those weeks that I've learned that to keep moving forward. So I am not only am I working behind the chair, and then I also homeschool my children, and I choose to homeschool my children because my job gives me flexibility to do that. I have a little home studio, and I have a full plate. So then I also am working on my own health goals, health and wellness goals. And I just this week was like, so instead of 10 years ago, Ashley, I would have allowed a week like this. Shoot, even 3 years ago, Ashley, last year, last year, I was kind of like, I'm about a year into like life changes. And if I can be so humble to say, I'm really proud of those life changes because, yeah, like even a year ago, Ashley would have just been like, well, shit's hit the fan. I give up. I can't do this. And I would swing the opposite way and just live in gluttony and say whatever until I got fed up and then tried to redo my life. Well, I got to get a new planner. I got to start all over. I better work on my business. I better tune into that course. Instead, I've embraced I don't feel good. I've talked to my coach about it. So what are we gonna do differently? I thrive off of routine, and I'm, like, embracing that in my 40s. Something about later in life where you're like, "Yep, this is how I operate." I just don't wanna become rigid. Like, I wanna be routine, I just don't wanna be rigid, but, like, hey, whatever. So, like, what do I do when I feel meh? I hope everybody can relate when I say meh. I pick my non-negotiables. My non-negotiables are I drink water as soon as I wake up. I still school my children, and that's just become like a part of our thing. And I let go of some expectations. I kind of give myself permission to go, you know what, this week is going to look a little different. That does not determine who and the shift in perspective there. Like just because you have a week where you don't feel 100%, it doesn't mean you don't have to give 0%, but what can you give? So my non-negotiables are I drink water when I wake up and I pick one meal that I'm going to have. I learned about like a mindset shift, all or something. And we're very much conditioned to all or nothing, but all or something. What is something that I can give where it's not perfect? My refrigerator is a mess. I did not meal prep this week. I I have food in my kitchen. So those weeks look like I jot down what meals I have on my whiteboard on my refrigerator. My hard boil some eggs and I drink my smoothie. Okay. Last night's dinner was non-existent. We finished Harry Potter book 1. We're doing the audio version, which by the way, if you are a Harry Potter fan, and you have Audible, they have a full cast edition right now where there's different actors reading the story and there's music and it is bringing me so much joy. Okay. So my children and I listened to book 1 and we finally finished it. My boys do not like to read. They're 10. They don't like it, but we worked through it. So last night we started the movie and it was just one of those nights where it was a good family night. So anyway, so I set up like all or something thinking, what can I do? And that's going to be different for everyone. You are not going to find a checklist on Pinterest when you feel like doo doo that you are going to, it's going to all come together. No, you're going to like, okay, what can I do? You're going to have to rely on your own darn wisdom in this because you got to pick. You got to pick. When you feel like doo doo and you don't want to do anything, you get to pick. Maybe it's like, you know what? I'm going to show up for my clients and I'm going to show up for my family this week. And then just know that next week is going to be different. You can choose the mind to say, you know what? Okay, last week was fine. I rode the wave. This week, I'm going to get back to it. And I'm going to be that woman that I want to be. Because life is 50-50. You get to pick how you want. Like, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. There's going to be meh. There's going to be great. There's going to be productive. There's going to be, we're getting by. And it's okay. The second thing I kind of do now when I feel this is I like, I take a shower. I may not shampoo my hair. I mean, but at least like I take a shower and I try to put on some like hard pants or like, oh, let me put on some earrings. Um, like, sometimes taking a little shower will help kind of get you out of that funk, you know? Maybe not. I don't know. Take a shower. I kind of focus on low energy home tasks. So again, I know I don't feel great. So it's like I listened to my audiobook, I folded laundry. I went for a couple walks. I have not lifted weights all week. I'm like fighting against the, oh my gosh, you haven't lifted weights all week. But it's like, you know what? I'm gonna do it again. I will get back to it next week. And that is like shifting from like, well, I haven't lifted weights all week. So I failed. I'm not gonna do it. No. I know next week is going to be different. I'm going to feel different. I'm going to show up a little differently. Okay, I rode the wave of just meh. Next week we'll be back to it. And that's kind of the shift. Like the body loves routine, but just because you have an off week doesn't mean that you have to stay there. It doesn't become your whole identity. And I think that's where I'm getting it to it is like you can have a week where you're like, I just don't feel good, but knowing that you're going to get back to your priorities. And like, there's a difference between like, I don't feel good versus like, I don't want to do it. And you kind of have to really tap in. And really through coaching, I've learned the difference between those two. Like, where and this is me, I don't know if you've experienced this, I would love to know, where it's like, man, lifting weights might be more detrimental or like doing that thing, that hard task might cause more exhaustion than others. I don't know. I'm very sensitive. And like while I don't fully understand the quote term empath, like I feel like I'm very in tune with my body, and so like letting go of the shame. Okay, I haven't lifted weights all week, but I'm going to get back to it. I will because I want to, because I like how it makes me feel. I have found that when I lift heavy, my ADHD is a little bit better. I can focus a little bit more. I like how my body feels. So it's like connecting the dots on those things. It helps to kind of get better, like get to move forward with the life that you want to live, right? The other thing when I'm like kind of midweek or not midweek, mid energy, low energy is I make sure I hydrate. I make sure I have my water. Usually a week like that, you might be hitting the coffee more than usual, maybe the coffee with the inconsistent eating more than usual. As long as like you pick your minimum of, I know I'm going to get a high protein breakfast in, or I'm going to make sure I intentionally eat a meal and I sit down and enjoy it with my family. There you go. Like that's good. That's progress, even though it's not perfection, because progress over perfection is what gets you to the person you want to be. That's the whole point, right? We're learning a practice. And a practice is trying, maybe failing, trying again, not doing it great, trying, succeeding, hitting it, hitting it, maybe not doing great. And it's okay. All right. I'm really going off script here and I'm feeling it. So, the other point that I really kind of want to drive home here is that it's okay to not be 100% all the time. We're not robots. We're not machines. And if I can show up as a coach, as a human, as a mother, as a wife, as a hairdresser, honestly, authentically, that's my objective. Like I do not have everything figured out. I am a woman, a trained coach doing the things like we're supposed to, like practicing them. There's tools out there. Sometimes these are weeks I journal. Sometimes these are weeks I plan. Sometimes these are weeks where I'm like cozied under my blanket on my couch, like planning. Certain weeks and lower energy weeks, they don't always look the same. Usually this is a week where I do a lot of planning or preparing or sorting out or forecasting. That's the word. And knowing next week I'm going to jump on camera and I'm going to be silly and goofy. And I'm really trying to show that part of me better. So to wrap this up, if you've had a week like this, it does not have to be forever. If you've had a week where you just don't feel great, that is all right. Today, I have to work all day. And then I've already decided in my brain, I'm like, what are the 3 things I'm going to do to get me, quote, back on track on Monday, bring back to my baseline. I don't know if I like the word back on the track, but it's like, what's the baseline of how I want to perform? And so before church on Sunday, I want to clean out my refrigerator. I want to put away all my clothes because have a lot of laundry that I have folded this week, but now it needs to go back to its home. And I will go on a walk. Like I've walked, 3 days this week. So it's like even in my lowest energy week, I'm still walking, I'm still hydrating, and I'm still like eating my high protein, high fiber feeds my soul smoothie, which I'm about to go make here in a minute. That way I can kind of restore the calm in my brain, and then we're going to hit it. Like the next week, it's like, okay, here we are, you know? Because like also too, like, I mean, women go through hormonal changes in our lives. Like we have a 28-day cycle. Like, I don't know if you've studied any of this, where it's like a man's cycle is around the sun, where it's 24 hours, and they have high energy morning, and then they're like their energy fades. And this isn't like, I don't want to go down the road of like whatever, but like like feminine energy is like a 28-day cycle. It's more around the moon where it like peaks and like waxes and wanes. It's higher and it's lower. And I think that's okay. I've learned to embrace it. You know, I took a couple naps this week. Like, I've learned to embrace it. And just because I have a week that I don't feel like I should, I'm not going to should myself. I'm just going to ride the wave, and I'm going to find a couple things that I can do to return to baseline. And when you can look at that, look at your weeks and go, wow, this doesn't have to, like, the world's not ending. I'm not a failure. Because you have low energy has absolutely nothing to do with your worth. You're still a wonderful human being who's feeding their bodies with nourishing food, even when you hit the drive-through, like, because that's the best you could do. My husband has to go into town today, and I'm going to ask him to go by the grocery store and pick me up a rotisserie chicken so I can have some rotisserie chicken for lunch. And that's probably going to be my lunch. Water and a rotisserie chicken. I might have some carrots in my fridge. So it's finding the decency, like all or something is a phrase I want to introduce you to. And just because your energy might not be where you want it, it's okay. You're allowed to be human. Life is 50-50, and we can and we're here. Like, I'm here to support you. I mean, I've just spilled my heart. But, like, I really lean on my coach during these times, and, like, to be able to verbalize how you feel to someone who still holds space is huge, right? And that's my objective with hairdressers. Like, as my objective to coach one-on-one is, like, I help hold space for you so you can be that version of yourself even when you don't feel good, and then knowing that, like, the other person feels the same way. It's, like, liberating. I hope this resonates. If it does, please, please let's have a conversation about it. Send me a DM on Instagram because I want to create community. I want to create conversation. And that's just kind of the person I am. Like, I verbally process and I like to talk about things. So I'm here for that. So just know that you are not being dramatic. You're not being too sensitive. You're not bad at managing your energy or being a healthy human being. You're simply being human who has a very high impact career, who's living in a body that has emotions, and you're doing the best you can. And I want you to know that just because you're like not feeling great, it doesn't have to stay. You don't have to stay there. You can not feel great, ride the wave, and come back. It's all right. So that's what I have. Next week, I'm going to come back with some salon-proof systems. I want to we've talked a lot about energy and health and how to say that, but let's talk about the salon. Let's bring it back to our craft, and I'm excited. So I wish you all a wonderful week, whatever it is you're doing, and I'm here to support you. All right, hang in there.